I guess that's the way it should be done at Wrigley Field. Michigan with a walk-off win against Northwestern 24-22. We appreciate you stopping by here at the Voice of College Football as Michigan keeps its Big Ten championship and playoff hopes alive with a narrow win off the foot of Dominic Zavada at the gun over the Wildcats. A pesky, I guess, scrappy, hard-hitting group of cats. But Michigan gets it done behind their freshman quarterback, Bryce Underwood, on the final drive. Again, 24-22. Appreciate you stopping by here at the Voice of College Football. Comments and questions are welcome down below. And join the best chat in college football nightly, Monday through Saturday, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Let's get to it. Glass half full, glass half empty, Michigan fan. What do you think? Half empty is obviously that Michigan did not perform well against a middling Big Ten team, a team that they have so much more talent than, and this has been a trend for the Maize and Blue. Let me call up my stats that I totaled here late in the game. Let's take Michigan's worst opponents, the mid-level Big Ten teams down to the very worst. We're talking Purdue, Wisconsin, Nebraska, Northwestern. Also throw in Michigan State. Michigan has won these games against these five opponents, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, by an average of 26-19. 30-27, 24-10, 31-20, 21-16, 24-22. 130-95 is the aggregate score on the Michigan side. Take that against the likes of Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, USC, Iowa, the teams that I would consider to be above Michigan or Michigan's peers. Those teams are undefeated as well against Northwestern and all the other teams that we just listed. Michigan State, Purdue, Wisconsin, Nebraska. But those teams have outscored those bad Big Ten teams 329-133. That's an average of 33-13. Michigan is scraping by against mid-level teams in the Big Ten. Will it come back to bite them? Well, they've got another one coming up against Maryland next week. And then, of course, they've got the game. All right, Wolverines now lead the Northwestern series 61-15. Of course, this one at Wrigley. It's special. The first one played in Chicago between these two since 1925. Of course, Michigan fans, you know that you're not playing for a college football playoff first and foremost or a Big Ten championship. You are playing for the George Jewett Trophy. And Bryce Underwood must have known that he was playing for the George Jewett Trophy because he played like an all-star through the beginning of the game. 10 for his first 11. He was on fire. Had Donovan McCulley on the first drive on a 3rd and 5. That was beautiful. A downfield shot to Andrew Marsh, who's emerging as a superstar down to the 14-yard line. And Michigan, it looked like, had a long touchdown run from Jordan Marshall around the end, but a holding call against Andrew Sprague made it 3-0. I marked it down 3-0 Michigan because I thought it was automatic with the All-America Zavada place kicking, but Dominic Zavada missed it from short range, and we had no score at that point. Now, next drive, Bryce Underwood just went back to work once again. 10 of 11 for 140 yards out of the gate. The go route down the sideline to Andrew Marsh was a thing of beauty. That took Michigan inside the 10-yard line and set up the Jordan Marshall touchdown, 7-0 Michigan. Andrew Marsh. This is a guy that we pegged early in the season as a guy that had to be a factor in this offense. He would be the one guy, first and foremost, despite his inexperience, that Michigan could use to be explosive. Sharon Moore's been talking foundational Michigan, tough-minded between the tackles football, with the run game being paramount since he took over the job, but with the addition of more explosive plays, more speed and space out of Michigan. Sorry to borrow that term from a former offensive coordinator in Michigan that didn't work out too well, Josh Gaddis. But that's what Sharon Moore has been talking. That's been the game that he has spoken since he took over as head coach, but we've rarely seen it. Certainly didn't see it last year, but Bryce Underwood gives them that ceiling. And we saw Bryce Underwood 3 to 4 splash plays early to mid-season, and he's regressed the last couple weeks. However, he came out firing, and he was on point, and he looked all of the 5-star that he is and a possible quote-unquote generational quarterback, even though that's a stupid, stupid term. Northwestern could add a touchdown pass. That was negated by a pass interference on a pick play against Hunter Welsing. Welsing would make amends many times, though, in this game. Northwestern with a field goal to make it 7-3. Anto Saka, Northwestern, number 4, close lines. Andrew Marsh in the backfield. Bit of questionable play calling by the Wolverines at this point. Chip Lindsey running the football down the throats of the Wildcats. And even though Northwestern's defense proved to be tough and sturdy and hard hitting on this day, Michigan still gained well over 400 yards, and most of that was on the ground, and they were running it down their throats. But Michigan got a little fancy, tried a reverse pitch behind the line of scrimmage, and again, Saka broke through the line of scrimmage, clotheslined Marsh, and that turned the ball over to Northwestern in midfield, and then Hunter Welsing down the seam. 2 bats at the line, and Jashawn Barham prevented a touchdown to Welsing because he was wide open, and the shot behind the quarterback definitely showed us that Northwestern would have scored the touchdown, but they had to settle for another field goal as they are one of the worst, talking bottom 5 in the nation in the red zone offensively. And their first 3 shots in the red zone, they had to settle for field goals, and Michigan led it 7-6. We come out in the second half, and Michigan, their first 3 touchdown drives were a thing of beauty. 91, 85, and 80 yards, including this one to take a 14-6 lead. Zeke Berry almost had a pick, as Preston Stone should not have thrown the ball back across his body across the middle of the field on the next drive. It forced a Northwestern punt. But Liam Reardon on that punt forced a fumble of Michigan fans' favorite player, Samaj Morgan, with the fumbled punt near midfield. That set up a Northwestern field goal to make it 14-9. Another Michigan turnover. Let's get it back to the Michigan offense, and Bryce Underwood going 80 yards down the field, including a thread-the-needle throw to Donovan McCulley. Again, the camera work. And when you watch these games on the big screen, as we are accustomed to in these days, it just shows the pinpoint accuracy on a play like this from Underwood that just shows his arm talent as he got it past the defensive line, through the window along the offensive front, and then past the linebacker and the safety, who barely missed the ball by inches. Donovan McCulley was almost off to the races, but he was tripped up. But Jordan Marshall would score the touchdown to make it 21-9. There was an opportunity, certainly, for Michigan to break away and cruise home with a fairly comfortable win at 21-9. But Northwestern starts the next drive at 2nd and 22, but they convert it into a touchdown. Finally, they break through. Griffin Wilde high points a ball at midfield. He had 2 catches, 51 yards. Hayden Elijah with the play over Zeke Berry. 2 catches, 26 yards, and that was a key play on the drive as Welsing went down the seam inside the 5. 13 minutes left to play, and Northwestern finally scores the touchdown to make it 21-16. Welsing was a key target of Preston Stone all day, 4 catches for 81 yards. Then came the big mistake from Bryce Underwood. Back foot throw in the pocket. Yes, the pocket had somewhat collapsed in front of him, but he still had a pocket, could not step up in it, and did not see Braden Turner, who almost took it home for a pick 6, but Northwestern would cap off the drive and take the lead on this one as the Welsing play made it 21-16, but on this one, again, after the Turner pick, Caleb Kamalafe with the touchdown run. The right guard had a double block on the play going to both layers of the defense to make it now Northwestern 22-21. They went for 2, probably a smart play to extend the lead to a 3-point game. If they would have gotten it, we might have seen overtime today. However, Northwestern, I don't know what this play was supposed to be. They were throwing a screen pass to the short side of the field. The Michigan defense was all over it. They were throwing the ball behind the line of scrimmage back to the 5 or 6 yard line. That you think as a Northwestern offense that on a 2-point conversion, you can throw the ball to the short side of the field where the runner has very little space and throw it back to the 6-yard line, and you're going to beat the Michigan defense to the goal line is sheer stupidity. So bad 2-point play. We see it all over college football that these particular teams don't have great 2-point plays, and Michigan trailed as Northwestern took the lead 22-21. Big play for Michigan here, not just from the standpoint of trying to win this game as they now trailed by 1 point, but down the road, Jordan Marshall left the game as he landed hard on his right shoulder and took the weight of the defender as well. Jordan Marshall was spectacular once again in this game. 19 carries for $142 after ripping up the Purdue defense for 185 the last time out. And it was Bryson Cusdall who shouldered the load shouldered the load the rest of the way for the Michigan offense. Unspectacularly, but got the job done, moving the chains. And on the final drive of the game, Cusdall had a number of key carries, 15 carries for 53 yards for him, although Northwestern can hit. And on this play, they were not done. Robert Fitzgerald had a number of bone-crushing hits on Michigan ball carriers and also had a pick in which, as Joel Klatt explained on the broadcast, Fitzgerald playing a safety position inside the hash, did not collapse on the RPO, did not collapse on the run fake. Bryce Underwood was predetermined that he's going to throw the football, and Fitzgerald made an excellent interception in the throwing lane, and Northwestern was back in business up by 1, and would Michigan get the football back? This is where we have to credit the Michigan defense. Northwestern had scored the 2 previous touchdowns to go to 21-16, then 20-22 up. But on the final 2 drives, with Northwestern hot on offense, Michigan shut them down to a 3-and-out. Not only stopped them from scoring after giving up the 2 touchdown drives, 6 plays, -1 yard. So they immediately got the ball back into Bryce Underwood's hands. And on the final drive, he threw a dart. It was a beautiful throw and catch to Andrew Marsh on the left sideline. Bryce Underwood made one of those plays that we've talked about many times, that he shows us 3 or 4 times, but it was absent the last few weeks. But man, this looked like Aaron Rodgers against the Dallas Cowboys in the whatever it was, NFL playoffs. If you remember the play that set up a Packers field goal to win the game, yes, that's what it looked like. And that was after, on the previous drive, after the Michigan defense got the ball back for Bryce Underwood, he had that ugly situation with the running back, Cusdall. He didn't put it in his pocket on the 4th and 1. And it was ugly, and Sharon Moore could have opted to kick the field goal. I understand why he went for it on 4th and 1, but it was a chip shot field goal pretty much at that point, and Michigan could have won the game there, but they went for it on 4th and 1, and Bryce Underwood botched that play. But despite all that adversity created by him through a couple bad throws, the missed exchange with Cusdall, Bryce Underwood pulls through on the final drive, and again, that one throw to Marsh was spectacular. Dominic Zavada, who had missed 6 previous field goals this year, so he's definitely not an All-America kicker here in 2025, and missed from short range, missed a 60-yarder earlier. He was money as they set him up perfectly, straight on. You knew he was going to hit it. There was no way he was going to miss this one. Michigan wins 24-22. So the Wildcats still trying to get to bowl eligibility. They're 5-5 now. They've got Minnesota and Illinois coming up next. And this Northwestern crew is a tough bunch, but not as talented as most teams in the Big Ten. And we saw that most recently against USC. That's the first time I've seen the Wildcats play gun to gun this year against USC, and they just couldn't keep up on the perimeter, much like they couldn't keep up with Andrew Marsh in particular, although they played a much better game against Michigan than they did against USC. And, of course, the Wolverines helped them out, bailed them out on a number of occasions with the turnovers, 5 of them, but credit Northwestern for staying in the game and creating most of those turnovers. Wolverines 8-2. This is where we expected them to be at this point. Maryland is next, and then they've got, can't remember who they play that final game of the season. We'll have to look that one up as Michigan attempts to get to the college football playoffs. Your comments and questions are welcome down below right here at the Voice of College Football. Michigan defeats Northwestern. They're still alive. See you next time.